I want to bring in now Ronald Chapman. He's a federal defense attorney. Thanks for joining us here on NewsNation Now.
Thank you.
So, Ronald, what are you expecting to hear from the prosecution's star witness? And will jurors even believe what Michael Cohen says, given his history of even lying to Congress in previous testimony?
Isn't that strange? We have somebody who, in a civil trial in New York, admitted to lying in a federal case. We have somebody who's been disbarred. We have that person having lied to Congress, and a letter from Congress really outlining those lies to the Department of Justice. And we still call them the prosecution's star witness in a case. Very strange circumstances that Michael Cohen will be taking the stand under. I expect he's going to keep his answers relatively reserved. And if I was Michael Cohen, I'm really going to start with a tell-all. Fess up, tell the truth, very short answers, and try to get through cross as quickly as possible. That being said, even if he does his best, I'm not so sure it's enough to go the distance for the prosecution.
There we go. Well, Trump, of course, has been fined multiple times for violating the gag order. But we've seen Michael Cohen all over TikTok, all over social media, even wearing that T-shirt. I think we've got some video that we can show with a picture of the former president behind bars. Some of the posts have been taken down, and the judge has even gotten involved, telling prosecutors to tell him to knock it off. What do you see between this stark contrast of what a witness who's about to take the stand, and then you've got a former president who at the campaign rally yesterday couldn't even mention anything about what's going on?
Well, the gag order does have a very strange impact when we look at a case like this. And I've said this before. Traditionally, the reason a gag order is there is to prevent the case being tried in the public. That being said, when the case is already being tried in the public by the prosecutors, by Michael Cohen, by Stormy Daniels, by every single person, including Alvin Bragg, who issued that statement of facts release very early on, a gag order is no longer necessary to prevent this kind of activity. I think it shouldn't have been implemented. That being said, the violations have only been fined so far. Thankfully, we haven't looked at jail time.
Okay. Well, I want you to take a listen to Michael Cohen. This might give all of us an idea of what his tone could be like tomorrow while he's on the stand. Listen.
I am ashamed of my weakness and my misplaced loyalty, of the things I did for Mr. Trump in an effort to protect and promote him. I am ashamed that I chose to take part in concealing Mr. Trump's illicit acts rather than listening to my own conscience.
So we can't forget, he's the former fixer. He was the former guy who went to bat every single time for Donald Trump. And now this has happened. Is this the same tone you expect to hear?
I expect the same thing, but I think the jury's already gotten a preview of this, right? Michael Cohen breaks things so that he can fix them. I think it might have even been Hope Hicks that indicated something like that previously. And I expect he'll take this tone, sort of saying, I take responsibility for what I've done, but it was all being done at the behest of Donald Trump. The problem is, where's the beef? Where is the proof that Donald Trump ordered Michael Cohen to do this? And without Weisselberg on the stand, this is going to be a very difficult thing to prove for the prosecution.
And the prosecution is clearly hanging their hat on this testimony. He's the guy that's going to connect all these dots from everything that we've heard from the previous witnesses. Is that a mistake on the prosecution's part? Is it strong enough?
No, you would not want to hang an entire case on somebody like Cohen. You're really going to want this case to be strong on documents and other witnesses. And in addition, you're not going to want to end a case with a guy like Michael Cohen. If cross-examination doesn't go well, and this guy's a wild card, so it probably won't, you end up closing your case on a very negative tone, and you have no room to make that up, especially if the defense elects to not call witnesses who have holes like Michael Cohen. They may rest immediately, move towards a motion to dismiss, or even closing arguments by surprise and try to hold the government to their burden. This is going to be very interesting. We may be looking at a very short week for trial here if the prosecution only has 2 witnesses left, as they indicated on Friday.
Interesting. While you're here, I want to get your take on this as well. We're going to switch gears now. A New York Times report shows that Trump may owe $100 million in taxes for allegedly writing off the same Chicago skyscraper twice. So if you were Trump's attorney, let's pretend you're Trump's attorney, and this double-dipping sort of headline comes out during the trial and 6 months ahead of the election, what do you make of all this?
Again, it's an issue with the gag order. I don't think Donald Trump can really say much about it, but thankfully there are people in his organization who have. My understanding is the former general counsel of the IRS had looked at this deal and indicated that this sort of tax write-off was supported. I think that this headline is relatively salacious. What we're really talking about here is the IRS disagreeing with how the organization took losses and either deferred taxes or didn't pay taxes on those losses. I'm not too sure of the complicated reasons this might have been done, but that's a dispute that Donald Trump and the IRS can have that will probably go to litigation and result in some form of settlement. But certainly it does have an impact and makes him look like a cheat if the jury was to hear this news of $100 million.
There you go. All right. Well, Ronald Chapman, federal defense attorney, appreciate you coming on NewsNation Now.
Thank you very much.
And happy Mother's Day to your mother.